Hi Cheryl, welcome to your chart. I don't know if you've ever done an astrology chart before, but wow, you have a very intense and difficult chart, and so I'm not surprised that it sounds like you've been through a rough life. So let's get into this. You have a past life in Leo as a fire sign. That makes you a very passionate kind of person. You're driven towards creativity. You could be dramatic, ruled by your passion. With a past life in Leo, your love life was everything to you. You were probably VIP, somebody important. You could be putting yourself separate from others as a status thing, and it feels comfortable, but it doesn't actually feel good. It also feels comfortable to put your love life first above everything else, and yet it doesn't feel good. So there's a difference between comfort and what feels good. The past life direction is what you're going away from, and it's what you knew, what you're an expert at. It's what doesn't serve you anymore. You're headed in the complete opposite direction. So there's a lot of areas in your chart that are a battle. So there's a war within. Your chart is also mostly made up of fire. So being a past life of fire and with most of your planets in fire, that's a very difficult combination because it makes it harder to go in the new direction. How do you do it? Well, you've got all of your houses are set there to lead you on the right path. You have a very powerful stellium, which is 3 or more planets in one area, and you have this in Aries in the 12th house. A stellium means a severe life lesson. You have 4 planets here, and these are not just like external planets. These are some of the most potent ones you could possibly have. And you don't have 3 planets, you have 4 in there. And on top of that, 12th house is probably just about as difficult of a stellium to have. 12th house is Pisces. It is a spiritual journey. It is an internal war within yourself. 12th house represents something that's hidden from you. So these are areas where you don't even know your own strength. You don't know your capability. And life is deepening your understanding in these areas. You could have also had a time of confinement in your life, some kind of prison. It could be hospital stays or that kind of thing, or feeling trapped, like you mentioned, in a very small town that you're from. Some kind of confinement has helped you to really work on the internal life as opposed to the external life. 12th house is also about healing. So by you deepening spiritually, your understanding is able to heal some of these areas. But your stellium is in Aries, and Aries and Pisces are very different. Aries is the warrior. Aries is very self-contained. It's all about action. They don't stop to ask for directions. They're just going. They plow through. And Pisces is a spiritual guru. The walls are down and you're connected on a psychic level to everyone and everything around you. So you have a war with these two concepts very strongly in your chart. 1 minute you fight, the next minute you ponder. It's all very intense and very confusing. It can make you want to scream 1 second and then cry the next, or both at the same time. And instead of fight or flight, I would say it's fight and flight. Maybe you felt like you're going crazy. I think anybody with this would feel like they're going crazy. And why? Because there's literally a war going on. Does everyone have this in their chart? The answer is no, they don't. 12th house is also self-undoing. So lessons you've learned from the past, you're holding on to them tightly like a warm, cozy blanket. And life is saying, let go. You need to be free of this. So it does make sense to me that a lot of your life externally has been kind of put on hold. And most of your work has been internally with your feelings and just your thoughts and who and what you are. And that is more than okay, because that is the 12th house journey. And you have 4 planets in the 12th house. Your number one mission in life is not work or whatever it is. It is to deepen spiritually. Once you do that, then you become part of the collective. And that South Node as a Leo, separate from everyone else, just going off of your own passions and your own whims and desires, has now deepened into someone who's a psychic guru, who can feel empathy for everything around them. This is why you were born a Sun Pisces, because you will feel good when you do these things. You said, what can I do to make my life feel meaningful? And this is your journey. Once you learn that wisdom, then sure, you can share it with other people. But if you just get to the step in this life where you are a more spiritual person, then that is more than enough. Don't worry about comparing all the external stuff to other people's lives and what they've accomplished. To make things even more interesting, you also have a stellium in the 6th house. And because the 6th house is opposite the 12th house, it is also, instead of Aries, it's the opposite sign, which is Libra. So you have a stellium in Libra in the 6th house. Libra represents partnership. It represents mirror and the other. And the 6th house is kind of tricky. It's kind of complex. The 6th house is the day-to-day grind, work, our health, service to others, the nitty-gritty. It's like the to-do lists. Probably the most practical sign you could have. The 6th house is telling you, let's take a more practical approach to life. Let's create some foundation. Instead of just going off of passion and whims, let's grow something. Let's put some roots down there and watch it grow. Now, that probably does not sound like the kind of life that is very interesting to you, and that's because it's very, very different than what you were before. As a Leo past life, you're excited by drama, by speaking, passion, creativity. But in this life, you only have one planet in Leo, and that planet is Pluto, which is actually the planet of rebirth. So your Leo has to be reborn and reworked. You also have your past life in the 4th house, which is home and family. So in the past, I'm guessing you might have been royalty, where your family and the family drama and dynamic was the most important thing. And now you're focusing more on the 10th house, which is work. 10th house is the public life, public persona. It's also, well, it's kind of a British thing. I mean, the British stiff upper lip concept is very Capricorn-like. It's a little stoic, a little rigid, gets things done, and is very responsible. And you're mentioning that you have a youthful feel to you. That's not surprising because fire is the youngest of the elements, and you're mostly fire past life. So you're very vibrant. Also, fire people usually look a lot younger than they are. Their energy levels of doing an action is on a very high level. However, most of your planets that have these fire signs, fire likes to just go, not think, just go. Fluid, fire, goes. I mean, look at wildfire, how quickly it catches on and it burns right out. But the problem for you of why you can't just externalize and go, 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 is because you're not supposed to. There have been some roadblocks that have been placed in your chart in the houses that these planets are in. And they are there because let's just imagine that you're a building and there's these vents all over the building. And fire likes to vent out and externalize. Now all the vents are being closed. So all of that energy is being contained within yourself. It's journeying around in a process that deepens you spiritually, which is your life's work. Your sun is Pisces. It's in the 11th house. 11th house is where you're heading to. 11th house is the opposite of Leo. So that's a very good placement for you because it encourages you to be part of the collective. Anytime you are humanitarian and you see the needs of others and you feel empathy and want to help, that makes you feel good because it's heading away from just feeling your own drama and reaching out to say, well, how can I help other people? And there's a healing effect that happens when you do that. To look at other points of view, to walk in their shoes, even though there's nothing to gain for you. Somebody that you'll never meet, totally external from your life. You have the moon in Libra in the 6th house. I think this is also a really interesting placement. Libra this is part of your stellium. Libra is the other. It is very giving in partnerships. It wants to see the other side of things. So emotionally speaking, you probably feel like you need a partner. You need someone to bounce things off of. But it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It just means that emotionally you need to talk to somebody to work through your feelings. You want to make sense of your feelings. Libra is an air sign, so it's trying to understand and decipher what's all there and why. Because it's an intellectual, it's trying to find solutions of what to do. That's probably why you're here right now. Having it in the 6th house means that there's something rewarding emotionally that comes through effort. So your day-to-day accomplishments, if you finish everything on the list, you can feel good about yourself. Accomplishing little tasks, no matter how small, makes you feel emotionally good. So usually I recommend when someone has this placement, go on a daily walk or something where it's like, it'll be a good day because I just did that one thing, and just do it every day, like a ritual. Also, people with the moon in the 6th house, they're often good cooks or careers involving the home, hotels, animals, farming, cooking, as I said, working with children, something that involves emotions and allows you to fluctuate. You don't have to be rigid, stoic, like that office busy bee thing is the very worst for you, but something where you could just feel the fluctuations of the moon. You can feel alive. Mercury, Aries, 12th house. This is the area of your mind. Mentally, you're quick thinking. You go for the larger life approach. You don't often mull things over, except it's in the 12th house. So it's like, go, and then stop. That roadblock I was talking about. So mentally, you might feel like you could be insecure about your abilities, that you're not as smart as you are. Could also feel like you're misunderstood, like communication is just hard to do. You might act and do things without sharing it with other people. You might be afraid of what they're going to think of that. So it can be hard to talk things out because it's just hard to make sense of what you're thinking all the time. These two energies you have in your mind are very different. It's almost like you have two people thinking inside your own head. But the great thing about that is it gives you two very different perspectives. You have one part of you in your mind that is very just go, 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 impulsive. The other part of you that is a dreamer. It's thinking of the big picture. It's merging all of the different subjects that you learned in school and putting them all together in a way that is very creative and almost genius. It's inventive. It can get frustrating just to sit and talk to people, so I would recommend go on a walk. Like if you're physically moving, then you might be able to understand your thoughts better. Venus, Aries, 12th house. This is a real tricky one. Venus is the area of romance. You have it in Aries, and Aries is all about yourself. It's the warrior. It's like me first. If anyone else gets fed or whatever or survives, that's just gravy. So in romance, you can find a lot of conflict, and that's just the nature of it for you. And it's in the 12th house, so once again, there's like two hearts within you. One is fighting for freedom, and the other is fighting to merge. And the secret is that truly, you already have merged. You already have no walls or boundaries to the person that you're with, and yet you're fighting to just pretend like you do have these guards up. It's like a plant trying to grow with no container. There's no boundaries, and eventually it will fail, no matter how much love is there. Just listening to these two hearts you have inside, one is fighting for you, and then the other one is fighting to merge and just to be one. And onto Mars, another place that you have this Aries 12th house stellium. A lot of Aries, you're a warrior. Mars is the planet of doing. It's the planet of action. It's also the planet of anger, how you handle frustration. So with Aries, Aries says go, impulsive. Just, they often have tempers, but they're just short-lived. And 12th house says internalize. I need to feel. So you throw this anger back on yourself. So in action, you have two voices inside your head at all times, making you go crazy. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I do this? Should I not do this? So I would think that you're probably best suited to activities that don't take too long. Spur of the moment, quicker, probably have a better chance of being completed and being exciting for you. Mars is also the area of men we're attracted to. So you have probably been attracted to men who are selfish, because Aries can be very self-oriented. You're also attracted to men who are fighters, who are competitive, and being in the 12th house, secret relationships, secret love affairs, Your love life is often the other woman, going off of a relationship for excitement and the thrill of conquering for you and for him. Unavailable, obviously. The 12th house in Mars holds you back from the world. You need time in solitude and isolation. So you might dive in there and then step back. This is just a push and pull of your internal struggle. Next, you have Jupiter, Taurus, 12th house. This is still part of the stellium, but it's in the sign of Taurus instead of Aries. So Jupiter is the planet of good luck, I guess, expansion. So this is the area where whenever you head in this direction, you're rewarded. You feel like the universe doubles down for you. So this is telling you that in the area of the 12th house, spiritual growth, it's a win-win. The universe always rewards you. You have literally an angel on your shoulders watching over you and helping you because you have such a difficult spiritual journey on this life. That Jupiter here is an angel encouraging you to deepen on all these different levels. You have it in Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign, so it's very grounded, practical, pragmatic, slow-moving, create a foundation, steadfast. And interestingly enough, this is also the kind of man that you end up in a long-term relationship with. Not exactly the one you typically have been going for. So you are most suitable with someone who is grounded, practical, pragmatic, doesn't play games, doesn't change his mind, and his opinion goes one direction and stays that way. You might find him to be a little boring, a little rigid, but also there's an excitement to something new. Someone who is actually yours, truly, who is loyal and who doesn't need more. He's also someone who has got a spiritual side because of the 12th house. So someone helps you to deepen your spiritual side and think about things on a complex level. Saturn, Libra in the 6th house. Saturn is like the grandfather sign. It's the responsible one. You have this in the 6th house, so that's actually very good. That means that you have a very good work ethic. Once you get past this internal battle and you actually decide to set your mind to something, you are a very hard worker. Deep down, you do have the ability to be practical. That might be surprising, but you actually are very steadfast. You have that capability within you. Having it in Libra, you know the downside of relationships. Your internal voice of criticism is telling you, don't give everything to this relationship. Stop. What are you doing? You're giving too much. You know that that's not going to work. Libra is about balance. So your internal grandfather self is desperately trying to help you create balance in your life. Next planet, Uranus in Cancer in the 3rd house. This one's kind of fun. This means that you are very funny. I'm thinking of the Miss Maisel show, if you've seen that. You'd probably be a great stand-up comedian. You could write like a comedy strip or something like that. The way you speak is funny. You've got a great way of shock and awe in the way that you express things. Even in the message you sent me, I can see this. And since it's in Cancer, which is the sign of home, you'd probably be really good at setting your comedy to your home life, your childhood, your mother, just making light of all of the stuff of like relationships, how you were raised, all of that. So I'd be curious to know if you've done that yet. Neptune, Libra, 6th house. Neptune is the planet of subconscious. It's kind of joint collective emotions and also disillusion and illusion and rose-colored glasses. So this is the area where we don't always see things clearly. It gets murky. You have this in the 6th house. So probably growing up, you were like, my teacher is asking me to say what I want to be when I grow up. It's like, probably not you because your generation was supposed to be a mother. That's right. So, but thinking about what to do for work is just a big question mark. And that continues your whole life. That's part of this placement. Usually you find that people that have Neptune in the 6th house, when work just places itself in front of you, you're like, okay, I'll do that. I'll get that done. But if you have to make a decision on what's your perfect career, you'll probably plan out something that is just so unobtainable It's just not realistic. But it also means that part of your emotions and that subconscious can actually work into your career. So you'll have a very interesting career path. It usually meanders around. It's not a very straight trajectory. Having it in Libra, your whole generation has been trying to figure out relationships, but the divorce rate was very high, disillusionment about marriage. But yeah, Neptune in Libra, that has more to do with your whole generation. Next, you have Pluto in the 5th house in Leo. Double whammy. They're both Leo. 5th house is Leo. So you see the dark side of passion and creativity. You see the downfall of it. You see that it isn't the answer to everything. You're a very creative person, but you might actually say to yourself, like, I just don't see the point of it. Sorry, my face is going, the sun is shining through in my room right now. You've played out the star role as the drama queen, the Rolling Stone, Mick Jagger type, and now it's like, well, what's the point? So this Pluto planet is about rebirth. So this Leo is disillusioned, and it's coming out of a haze, and it's learned all the harsh lessons of that 5th house Leo area. 5th house also represents romance, so you could be drawn to a man who is like Pluto. He could be a man who is a very deep, soulful guy, maybe someone who people are a little intimidated by. Maybe he'll say the truth, and people could find that to be harsh, but just very soulful. You have midheaven in Capricorn, and I'm going to tie this in with your Chiron, which is also in Capricorn. Chiron is a mortal wound. The area of Capricorn is public life, work life, being the boss, being the authority. You are the authority, but that idea terrifies you because you have a wound here. Anybody that has a Chiron wound in Capricorn, you feel unrecognized, you feel unimportant, you feel like society doesn't value you. You fear structure in your life, you fear losing control, being out of control, and there's a fear of stepping into society. Midheaven is your career life. You have it in Capricorn. You are meant to be the boss. You are meant to be the authority. But for you to step into your role as the wise grandfather authority, you have to heal this wound, which makes you feel like you can't trust your own wisdom, that you have to get approval from somebody else, that you don't have anything to offer other people. But Capricorn is a wise giver. They're like a father figure. They discipline and they tell people, you should do this, and help people to not fall into the same mistakes that they made. And this is part of your spiritual journey. Once you learn all of these things and embrace what you are, then you're able to share what you know. Hope this was helpful, Cheryl. I loved doing your chart. I really just wanted to express to you that you do have a very, very difficult chart and you're working on a whole nother level. So feel good about all of the work that you've made and all the progress that you've made. Light and love to you.